listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball as we take you around the conference for all the latest in Big Sky hoops. Now, here's your host, Scott Gerard.
Hey, welcome into this week's edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Gerard. The race for the Big Sky regular season title and the number one seed in next month's conference tournament is hotter than ever with just 2 weeks remaining. On the men's side, Montana and Northern Colorado have separated themselves as the two favorites, while on the women's side, it continues to be a traffic jam with Idaho, Idaho State, Northern Colorado, and Portland State still in the mix. Big show for you. Sacramento State head coach Brian Katz will join us here in just a moment, and we'll stay with Sacramento State as junior guard Hannah Friend will join us in our second segment. Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports will wrap things up with a discussion on the top storylines from around the league. First, let's take a look at what's happening in Big Sky men's basketball. Northern Colorado pulled within one game of league-leading Montana on Monday as the Bears came into Missoula, snapped Montana's 10-game winning streak with a 74-72 win to split the season series between the two teams. Bears improved to 12-4 in league play, while Montana dropped to 13-3 with 4 games to go. Weber State, currently sitting in third place in the league standings with a 10-6 mark, took a 78-76 loss at Sac State in its only game of the week. Montana State fell into a tie for fourth in the standings with Eastern Washington at 9-7 as the Bobcats fell to rival Montana on the road on Saturday 89-83. Eastern Washington went 1-1 on the week with a win over Northern Arizona and a loss to Southern Utah. Thunderbirds went 2-0 on the week with wins over Eastern and Idaho to move to 9-8 in Big Sky play, eyeing one of those first 5-round byes for the conference tournament. Harrison Butler averaged a double-double with 16.5 points and 11 rebounds to pace the Thunderbirds on the week. And winners of 4 straight, Portland State also posted a 2-0 mark last week as the Vikings took down Idaho State and Sacramento State to improve to 8-8 in conference action. All right, picking up a big win at home last week were the Sacramento State Hornets. We're now joined by head coach Brian Katz. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, an exciting finish with your win over Weber State last Thursday. You overcome a 12-point deficit. Let's talk about that comeback and what that message was to the team after that game.
Yeah, we had some really interesting games here with Weber over the years. It was a typical kind of, I'll call it a crazy finish. We had some crazy finishes with them here, and it was kind of like that. It was one of those games when it felt like they were in control most of the game, and then I think we were down 7 with, I want to say, 7 minutes to go, and came back, and of course, won in dramatic fashion. So any win's a good win. We're always excited to win.
No doubt about it. One of the best players in the Big Sky this season, Marcus Graves, back for his senior season after sitting out last year with that injury. What is the presence and the energy that he's brought to this team really meant for you this year?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to really discuss all of it, but just purely basketball point of view, attacking, puts pressure on the defense, puts pressure on the offense with his defense. Multifaceted. He's had a triple-double this year once. I'm not too sure. I think he leads the Big Sky in assists and steals. If not, he's close. And, of course, his leadership. He's a great, great, great kid and has respect of his teammates. So leadership and, of course, his ability on the court's really, really important.
You have one of the best big men in the conference in Joshua Patton. What has really surprised you with him in his junior season, or did you kind of expect him to make this jump?
Yeah, we expected it. He's really a long, athletic player. He's got really long arms. He's a good shot blocker. His biggest flaw has been his inability at times to stay out of foul trouble. When he does, we're awful good. But he shoots at a high percentage. He's really improved his game. He makes some mid-range jumpers now as well. So, we're just excited. He's a junior. We'll be back next year.
You've been coaching in this league for a bit now in your 11th season with the conference moving back to a 20-game schedule this season. What has that been like for you, and is that something that you're a fan of?
Not really. I like the 18 better. At the time, whenever it comes up, you always say, yeah, 20 is great, and that makes sense. And then when you go through it, I mean, I know it sounds weird to say that only 2 games would make a difference, but they do. It's such a grind. You need a break somewhere in the schedule. You really do. You need the Saturday game where you basically have the first part of the week off more often because – oh, man, it takes its toll and the travel and everything else. So I like the 18, but I was in the minority on that.
Well, and also, too, you're getting everybody's shot every single night, it seems like, and just there's no breather. And I got to imagine that's a grind on your team.
You know, this league is a very unique league. I always say, I tell everybody who listen, I say that it's a league of alike teams, very like teams. There's no one, and this has been going back 40, 50 years, you know this, there's no one who's like, you line them up and go, wow, they're way better than those guys. I mean, Montana, they're a good team. We know that. We respect them. They're a slightly ahead, a tick above everybody else right now. But, I mean, if you lined up Montana next to Northern Arizona or Southern Utah or whoever, you're going, okay, I see it. Very, very, very like teams. Weber, ourselves, Eastern Washington. I mean, somebody's talking to me about Eastern Washington earlier today. I mean, I think they're as talented as anybody in the league, and they got great depth. People were thrown off by their preseason record. Well, it was because look at who they played. They played a bunch of high major Power 5 type schools. So it's a league of very, very like teams, which makes every night a fist fight, meaning there are no knockouts. There's no knockouts. They're all fist fights. To get a win in this league, and the other part, too, the travel's difficult, and where you play is difficult. Hostile environment, no question. I mean, we're going to Cheney this weekend. That'll be tough. Got to go to Idaho. That'll be tough.
You know, let's talk about those games. You lost a nail-biter to the Eagles in overtime last time around. What's the key to coming away with maybe some wins this weekend?
You know, we were down 17-2 in that game. In fairness, they outplayed us all the way. We kind of junked it up at the end and threw in a 3 at the buzzer and forced overtime. But I thought they played harder and were just better than us that night. So, you know, we just got to get off to a better start. We're down 17-2. You know, you're not going to win a lot of games being down 17-2.
Coach, we appreciate the time as always. Great to catch up with you. Keep it rolling. Look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you covering us.
You got it. Sacramento State coach Brian Katz right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Hey, for the last 30 years, Sports Graphics has been a leader in providing signage and services for the top professional and amateur sporting events across the country. That's why the Big Sky Conference is proud to work with Sports Graphics for all their signage at Big Sky Championship. Sports Graphics, proud sponsor of the Big Sky. Take a quick break, come back, and we'll chat with Sacramento State junior guard Hannah Friend and discuss what's been going on in Big Sky women's basketball. It's all straight ahead right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. CenturyLink Arena plays host to the 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships in Boise. Postseason college basketball is back in Boise, and we have your front row seat to the event. The women's tournament will be held March 11th through the 15th, while the men's championship will take place March 13th through the 16th. The wait is over. 22 teams, 20 games, 2 champions. Don't miss your chance to buy tickets for this fun-filled week of basketball. Tickets are on sale now at BigSkyInBoise.com.
Traveling to watch your favorite team, or you just need a weekend away? Let My Place be your place for both. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference, and now you can use booking code BIGSKY19 to receive 19% off your stay at myplacehotels.com.
You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Segment number 2 here on this edition of This Week in Big Sky Basketball. The 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Championships presented by My Place Hotels. They're headed to Boise coming up in 2019. Visit BigSkyInBoise.com to purchase tickets and get hotel information. Hey, it's coming up quick, March 11th through the 16th, and we want to see you there. Now, if you need a hotel for work or just a night away with over 44 hotels open and more on the way, we want to be your home away from home. My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel of the Big Sky Conference. All right, let's take a look at what's been happening around Big Sky hoops. On the women's side, with just two weeks remaining in the Big Sky basketball season, a leader has finally emerged at the top of the standings. Idaho currently sits in first place with 3 teams sitting back with 4 losses. Northern Colorado sits in a tie for third place with a 12-4 record after playing in just 1 game this week. The Bears took a 79-61 victory over Montana on the back of Savannah Smith, who scored 40 points in that game. Smith leads the conference in scoring during the conference season with 23.7 points per game. Portland State also sitting in third at 12-4 after going 1-1 on the week. Vikings dropped their Thursday game to Idaho State before picking up a double-digit victory over Sacramento State on Saturday. Courtney West shined this week for the Vikings, averaging 12 points and 6 rebounds while averaging 3 blocks and 2 steals. West moved to 4th all-time in the Big Sky in blocks this week and now has 240 blocks in her career. Idaho State second at 13-4 after a week where they went 2-0 against Portland State and Weber State. Bengals also became one of two teams to clinch a first-round bye in the Big Sky Conference tournament after their win this week against the Wildcats. Sailor Grandin had a great week for the Bengals. Also joined the 1,000-point club in Saturday's win against Weber State. Netted 19 points to surpass that mark and become the second Bengal on the roster to do so. But let's get back to Idaho. The front runner at 13-3 defeated Southern Utah, Northern Arizona to go 2-0 on the week and clinch a first-round bye in the Big Sky tournament. The Vandals' Michaela Ferenc, 12 points away from becoming the Big Sky all-time points leader and currently has 2,284 points. Ferenc scored 49 points on 18 of 32 shooting this week to lead the Vandals. 5 teams are in a fight for one of the final first-round byes, and one of those is Sacramento State, who's making that late-season push as the conference tournament draws closer. We're joined now by Sacramento State's Hannah Friend. Hannah, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us. The season's drawing to a close, but your team continues to play well down the stretch. What are your thoughts on your team's performance, and what do you need to do to try to continue to finish strong?
Well, definitely. We practice for March, so everything is, leading up to March, and we're happy to make that home stretch. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and we have some great competitors here in the Big Sky, and we're just every day we're trying to perfect our offense and defense to just make that stretch and try and get where we can in the Big Sky tournament.
You have a pair of tough matchups this weekend. You've got Eastern Washington, Idaho on the schedule. What are the keys to continuing to play well and trying to get some wins against those teams?
Yeah, definitely stopping, Ferenc and Morrow. They've just, they go in depth, even from their bench, and we just have to keep our eye on, who's with their offense and defense, us keeping the pace, and us just doing what we can to limit those two and make everyone else step up, and just kind of focusing on what we're doing. So if we can, run the pace and make sure we have the lead and play all 4 quarters, which has been a struggle for us, then I think we can pull something out.
You averaged 19.5 points, 10 rebounds. You set a new career high with 6 steals against Portland State. What did you see this week from your opponents to kind of help you lead to that success? With Portland State, their zone, definitely, that's open for threes. And then just steals in general, the zone is packed in. And then I'm just doing, what I can for my team. Someone's got to, do the points, but we've had other people step up, and that's really helped us. We're just working on playing together and, having that, friends and peers, they have each other. So we're trying to, develop that from over here. And just with the rebounding, again, Kennedy Nicholas, great rebounder on our team, but she's not on. Someone else has got to do it. And I'm nearly a 6-foot guard, so I definitely have made rebounding a huge priority this year. With only one senior on this team, a lot of young players getting the opportunity to play. As a leader on this team, what is your approach to try to make sure that everybody's on the right page and continuing to play well?
Yeah, just basically just making sure everyone knows the plays and what's going on. It's not easy to just come in and be thrown in there, but I think for Sac State, that's definitely a benefit of coming in, that you do get to play right away. Anyone is allowed to do nearly anything, but just knowing that, when you come in, the game seems very fast, but for the people that have been here, the game kind of comes to you a little bit slower. So just trying to, best I can, teach that experience from, a junior to a freshman. Isn't always easy, but it's, definitely beneficial to them.
Love to hear your story, how you ended up at Sacramento State. I believe you're originally from New York, correct?
Yes, I am.
So what was the path? What was the path that led you to Sacramento State?
Well, I'm from California. I lived in England, and then I lived in Connecticut, and then New York. So after going to New York, I decided to play at University of Delaware my freshman year, and then I didn't really like how we played out the whole shot clock. I wanted faster, fast breaks, just not running through the whole shot clock. And so Sacramento, I actually reached out to them. I transferred pretty late in the game. I definitely wanted to be in California for law school. So knowing that, I decided to go to Sacramento State and play here, and everything else has been history.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Hearing you talk, I thought, well, I think Hannah may end up being a coach, but you want to go to law school. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I mean, I would love a coaching opportunity. I would love nothing under collegiate, though. But I would love a coaching opportunity, but definitely going to law school for sure. Well,
Hannah, we appreciate it. Great insight. Good luck in your future endeavors, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Sacramento State's Hannah Friend right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. When we come back, we'll preview the week ahead in the Big Sky. We'll also visit with Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports. We'll also note where you can find all the Big Sky games on TV this weekend. This is another edition of This Week in Big Sky Hoops. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for Big Sky action.
That's his first and the team's first.
The leading free internet television service in America will stream live sporting events, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, and selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. Simply go to Pluto TV to find games from several different sports. Pluto TV is your one-stop shop for all Big Sky action. The 2019 Big Sky Men's and Women's Basketball Championships are headed to Boise. Buy your tickets now for a fun-filled week with basketball for all to enjoy. Purchase your tickets today by visiting BigSkyInBoise.com. That's BigSkyInBoise.com.
Now, back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball.
Final segment of the show. You're listening to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Scott Girardi. The Big Sky Conference will air all of its live stream sports events on Pluto TV for free, including up to 700 football, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, selected soccer, softball, and track and field events. All Big Sky basketball games can be seen on Watch Big Sky and Pluto TV. It's a crucial week in the Big Sky men's basketball front. Northern Colorado plays host to Weber State and Idaho State, while Eastern Washington and Idaho welcome in Sacramento State and Portland State. Montana and Montana State host Southern Utah, Northern Arizona, while travel partners Weber State and Idaho State face off in Pocatello to round out the action. On the women's side, Portland State and Sacramento State host Idaho and Eastern Washington, while Weber State and Idaho State each host Northern Colorado. Wrapping up the week, Montana and Montana State travel south to face off against Southern Utah and Northern Arizona. Every single Big Sky game can be seen on Pluto TV and WatchBigSky.com for free and in high def. Whether you're watching on a tablet, smartphone, laptop, desktop, whatever, you can watch Big Sky basketball anywhere you go. All right, time to welcome in Colton Juan of Skyline Sports. Colter, how are you, man?
Oh, man, and we got 20 inches of snow in the last 24 hours in Montana. It keeps on going, so we're doing great.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? March, April, May can't get here soon enough. Hey, we're in the home stretch of the conference season. Is this one of your favorite times of year? I got to imagine with tensions running high.
Absolutely. It gets so unpredictable. I mean, last night I was in Missoula, and Northern Colorado comes in, and Montana seems like this team of destiny, and Northern Colorado gives them absolutely all they can handle. Northern Colorado's young kids completely stepped up, and they get a huge win. And so, in this, especially both the men's and women's leagues, honestly, there's definitely tiers in terms of the competitiveness of the teams at this point in the season, but there's so many different interesting matchups. Like, I think Eastern Washington is probably the worst matchup for the Grizz, whereas Northern Colorado is an absolute handful for anybody they're going to play right now if Jordan Davis plays like he did last night. And then on the women's side, Savannah Smith keeps this thing going. They're not out of it yet. The defending champs are certainly in the mix for number one seed. So, yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the great times of the year.
On the women's side, you mentioned Idaho emerging at the top of the standings. Still uncertainty with their matchup with Idaho State coming up next week. As we peek ahead, how do you think the season will end for the Vandals, and do you think they're able to hold on to that top spot?
Well, the kind of jockeying for seeding that's going on in the women's league is fascinating. I mean, Idaho State laid it on Portland State last week. That was a surprising result. But Seton Sobolewski's got his team playing really, really, really well. I mean, they rebounded quite well after having a heartbreaking 1-point loss in Missoula a couple weeks back to the Lady Grizz. And, Portland State gives people so much trouble with their zone. Idaho State gives people so much trouble with their physicality. Idaho gives people so much trouble with their shooting. And then Northern Colorado has one of the best players in the history of the Big Sky Conference, Savannah Smith. So all four of those top squads are definitely dangerous in their own way. And then you throw Montana State in the mix, a team that seems like they're finding their way after Claire Lundberg went down with a torn ACL. That's kind of really empowered Oleana Squires, Blair Braxton, and Martha Cooter, Madeline Smith, Montana State's 4 juniors. They've really stepped up with their one senior out, and they're an interesting team too because I don't think they're going to be able to play their way into the top 4, but I think they are pretty solid at that 5 spot, which gets them a bye, and they'll be an interesting matchup for the tournament as well. So as far as how the seeding all plays out, I think it's anybody's guess, but I still think that in tournament play, I think the 2 teams that were in the championship last year are the 2 most proven teams when it comes to that sort of scenario. And I think that, the fact that Michaela Ferenz and Taylor Pierce have both performed so well on the big stage in neutral site tournaments before, and the fact that things in Boise now, so it's almost a home state advantage for Idaho. I still consider them the favorites, but it's going to be a huge fight for Idaho, both in the regular season and in the tournament, to be able to advance to the big dance, because Northern Colorado, Idaho State, Portland State, and maybe even Montana State, they're all going to be in the mix for sure.
Portland State on the men's side currently right in that 4-game winning streak. They're 3-1 against the remaining 4 teams on their schedule. Do you see the Vikings sneaking into one of those top 5 seeds in the tournament?
Well, that's going to be really interesting given the stretch run we have here coming down, because Montana State is right in the mix there in the middle. Eastern Washington is right in the mix there, but Montana State gets a chance to play Portland State. They also get a chance to play Southern Utah. Those games are going to be really impactful as we try to find out who is the team that claims that 5th and final spot. But Barrett Peary's really got his team playing well. They showed their potential early on. They won in Missoula to snap Montana's 20-game winning streak early in the conference season. And, when you in this league with the amount of guards there are, if you got an elite guard, you got a chance. And Holland Woods is an elite guard. I think he's one of the 10 best players in the league. And Barrett Peary's style, if they get locked in, they're going to give every single team they play trouble because of the way that how fast they play, how much they press. Sometimes the press is vulnerable and they give up a ton of points if teams are breaking it efficiently. But if they can get in your head and they can speed you up, they're a dangerous squad no matter what. So, I agree. I think that race for the 4th and 5th spots on the men's side is going to be really, really, really interesting because there's a ton of matchups between all the teams involved as we come down the stretch.
And just to circle back on the Grizz a bit, what are your is there, you were there yesterday, is there cause for concern? Is there a little bit of panic, or are they just like, hey, that's a loss, let's regroup and get this thing back on track?
Well, I'll say it like this. The game on Saturday between Montana and Montana State, and I've been covering the 2 Montana schools for 13 years now, and I've been going to, I grew up in Missoula. I've been going to Grizz games since the mid-'90s. And that was one of the most special atmospheres I've ever been a part of. It was one of the most hyped Cat Grizz games that we've seen. So many central characters involved in it. Tyler Hall was making his 8th Cat Grizz start. Michael Ogine, number 8 for Cat Grizz games. Bobby Moorhead, on down the line. Harold Frey and Kelvin Blevins and Sam Newman and Tyler Hall on the Montana State side of things. You have all of these central characters that have played so many times against each other in the greatest rivalry in the Big Sky Conference, and that was their last time. And Missoula came out in full force, 7,350 people, and it was one of the great college basketball games I've watched, one of the great regular season games I've watched. Back and forth. Both teams played incredibly well. Both teams hit so many big shots, and the Grizzlies end up winning the thing, and that caps a 10-game winning streak. And so then to turn around and have to play 2 nights later, and again, it is snowing sideways in Missoula right now. It is negative 10 degrees.
Oh, geez.
So, you have a half full stadium last night, which is not to say anything bad about the city of Missoula. It's just nobody could get to the game. The roads were so bad. And so you talk about a rivalry game with a letdown associated with it, as well as then you play the number 2 team in the conference, who's playing really, really well right now. Montana just looked a little bit fatigued, but I also thought Northern Colorado, I thought Bodie Hume and Sam Maston, Northern Colorado's 2 starting freshmen, I thought they really played incredibly well. Jeff Linder told me a great story. He said he showed the team Free Solo last night, or I guess on Sunday night, the great climbing documentary, because he wanted to tell those freshmen, hey, there's some stuff to be scared of. Playing on the road in Missoula is not one of them. And then those 2 guys step up and really embrace that message. So, great win by Northern Colorado. And, when you look at the schedule, it's almost to be expected when you got a Monday game 2 days after Cat Grizz. That's just going to be a tough one to rebound from if you're Montana just because of the emotional letdown. So all things considered, that's just a great win by Northern Colorado. Credit to Jeff Linder and his team because they came in and they gave Montana all they could handle.
Well, I'll let you go and get the shovel. Hang in there, man, and stay safe out there, all right?
Hey, we appreciate you.
Got it. Colter Nuanez of Skyline Sports right here on This Week in Big Sky Basketball. Big thanks to him, as well as Sacramento State coach Brian Katz, as well as Sacramento State junior guard Hannah Friend. Also, big thanks to Lloyd Cole, our producer, and the executive producers of This Week in Big Sky Basketball, Blake Barrington and Carl Hunt. I'm Scott Gerard. Enjoy the games this week. Back with you next week for another edition of This Week in Big Sky Hoops.